Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Today we're going to be diving deep into Altria Group, the folks behind Marlboro cigarettes, and we're going to be specifically focusing on their latest dividend payout.
Interesting stuff.
And what it all means for investors.
For sure, for sure.
So our sources this time are 24/7 Wall Street and Market Beat.
Always good sources.
Yeah, and they have some pretty interesting takes on whether or not Altria is still a good bet, for the future.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I found really fascinating.
Okay.
Altria has been increasing their dividend like every single year for over 50 years.
Wow.
Which is insane.
It is impressive.
That means they're not just a dividend aristocrat, they're like a dividend king.
That's right. Yeah, that kind of consistency. You just don't see it that often, especially in an industry that's, facing some changes.
Right.
So it says a lot about their dedication to their shareholders.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get into the specifics of this recent dividend,
Okay.
what we're looking at here.
So they just paid out 1.02 per share on January 10th, which is actually consistent with the previous quarter.
Yeah.
But what really stands out is the yield. Right now, it's sitting at around 7.8%.
Wow.
Which is significantly higher than the average for the consumer staples sector.
Interesting.
So that's why a lot of income-focused investors, they're kind of looking at Altria.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of us who maybe aren't as familiar with the ins and outs of dividends, could you just break down why this all matters?
Sure.
Why are dividend stocks, such a big deal these days?
Well, they offer a couple of key advantages. One is the potential for some really strong total returns.
Okay.
So you're not just hoping that the stock price is going to go up. You're also getting that dividend income, which can really boost your overall gains.
Okay.
And the second advantage is that it provides a steady stream of passive income, money that you're earning without, actively working for it.
Got it. So it's about more than just stock appreciation.
Yeah.
It's about having that extra income stream
Exactly.
on top of it.
Exactly.
But one thing that I noticed in the articles is that Altria isn't just focusing on cigarettes anymore.
Right.
They're doing this whole diversification thing.
Yeah, they're branching out for sure.
What's the story there?
Well, they're getting into things like cigars and pipe tobacco.
Okay.
Brands like Black & Mild.
Yeah.
They're also in the smokeless tobacco market
Okay.
with Copenhagen and Skoal, and even oral nicotine pouches, with their brand.
Oh, wow.
Plus, they have a stake in the e-vapor market with NJMOY-ACE.
So they're really covering their bases here.
Yeah, I think this move into all these alternative nicotine products shows how they're adapting to consumers' changing tastes.
Yeah.
And, the shifting regulations around smoking.
Makes sense. So they're trying to kind of stay ahead of the curve.
For sure.
But how are these new ventures actually doing, compared to their traditional cigarette business?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, the articles are pointing out this decline in Marlboro cigarette sales.
Which is concerning.
Yeah, which is a concern because that's their bread and butter. It's their flagship product.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, Altria is actually seeing strong growth in some of their alternative categories, particularly those oral nicotine pouches. They're doing really well.
Interesting.
So it seems like they're not just, dipping their toes in the water with these new products.
Yeah.
They're actually making some real progress.
So it's like a bit of a balancing act.
Exactly. Trying to manage this shrinking cigarette market.
Right.
While also growing these new categories.
And yet they're still delivering those impressive dividends.
Right.
So it seems like they're navigating this whole transition pretty effectively.
At least for now, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a paradox.
Yeah.
This company is like straddling two worlds.
Right.
And investors are definitely watching to see, if they can keep this balancing act going.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. So it makes you wonder, what does Wall Street think about all of this? Altria stock, it's up over 24%.
That's right.
In the past year.
Yeah.
Which is beating the S&P 500.
Outperforming.
But are the analysts convinced?
It's a mixed bag, to be honest.
Really?
Some analysts are pretty bullish on Altria.
Okay.
They point to the diversification efforts we talked about and that really attractive dividend yield.
Right.
They see the company as a potential long-term winner.
Yeah.
Especially if those alternative nicotine products keep gaining traction.
Okay.
But then you have other analysts who are more cautious. They're worried about the long-term viability of the tobacco industry as a whole.
Right.
They're questioning whether Altria can really escape the eventual decline in cigarette smoking.
Even with the diversification?
Even with it.
Okay, so conflicting viewpoints.
Always interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
So for someone who's listening to this right now,
Yeah.
and they're thinking about investing in Altria. What are the key things that they should consider?
Well, first and foremost, they need to think about their own investment goals and their risk tolerance.
Right.
Are they mainly looking for income?
Yeah.
Are they looking for long-term growth or a mix of both?
Right.
You know, Altria with that high dividend yield could be appealing to income-oriented investors.
Okay.
But maybe not so much for those who are seeking really aggressive growth.
Right, because that high dividend might not offset
Exactly.
a stagnant or declining stock price.
Yeah, if growth is your primary goal, then, you know, it might not be the best fit.
Makes sense.
It's all about finding the right investment for your particular strategy.
Right.
And of course, any investor worth their salt, they need to do their own research.
Absolutely.
Don't just take our word for it.
Right.
Or rely on headlines or analyst ratings.
Yeah.
Dig deeper. Look into Altria's financials, examine their product portfolio.
Right.
And really get a grasp of their long-term vision.
Yeah.
And then decide if it aligns with your own investment philosophy.
So it's about going beyond the dividend, beyond the hype.
For sure.
And really understanding the company's fundamentals and future prospects.
Absolutely. Investing is a journey, not a sprint.
That's a good point.
It's about understanding what you own and why you own it.
I like that.
Yeah.
We often get caught up in all the short-term noise.
Yeah.
But investing is really about having that long-term vision.
Exactly.
Making sure your portfolio is aligned with your financial goals.
For sure.
Speaking of vision,
one
thing that struck me in the articles is how Altria is kind of reinventing their narrative.
Interesting.
They've gone from being the cigarette company to exploring this whole new world of alternative nicotine products.
It is remarkable.
It was a big shift.
Yeah. For a company with such a long history in traditional tobacco.
Right. It makes you wonder, are they truly committed to a smoke-free future? Or is this just a clever marketing tactic?
Right. Because their core business is still cigarettes.
It is. It's a question worth considering.
For sure.
And the articles don't really give us a definitive answer.
Yeah.
But they do offer some clues.
Okay.
For example, Altria has been investing a lot of money in research and development for these new products.
Yeah.
And they've been pretty vocal about their dedication to harm reduction.
Right.
But actions speak louder than words.
Always.
So it remains to be seen how this all plays out.
Time will tell.
Exactly if this transformation is genuine or just a way to adapt to a changing market.
Right.
So I guess that's the big question hanging over Altria. Can they successfully make this transition and become a leader in this new world of nicotine products?
It's the million-dollar question.
It is.
And one that investors will be watching very closely.
Sure. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From Altria's dividend history to their strategic shift and the challenges they face, it's clear that they're at a crossroads.
They are.
And the choices they make now will have a big impact on their future. And while we can't predict the future, we can at least arm ourselves with knowledge and insights
For sure.
to make more informed decisions.
That's the goal.
And that's what these deep dives are all about.
Exactly.
They're a starting point
for
further exploration and critical thinking.
Right.
We've laid out the landscape for you. Now it's up to you to dig deeper.
That's right.
And draw your own conclusions.
Absolutely.
Remember, investing is a personal journey.
It is.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
The key is to do your research. Understand the risks and the potential rewards.
For sure.
And make decisions that align with your individual goals and values.
That's well said.
That's a great point.
Thank you.
Okay. So we've been looking at Altria Group, right? Their incredible dividend history, their diversification strategy, and that big question mark hanging over their future. It's been a fascinating deep dive.
Yeah, it really has. We've gone through their move into alternative nicotine products, like those oral pouches and the vapes, and how those are performing compared to their good old cigarette business.
It's a tough balancing act, it seems like.
Definitely. Trying to bridge the old and the new.
Yeah.
And investors are definitely on the edge of their seats to see if they can pull it off. You know, that steady dividend is tempting.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not the whole picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you think, is Altria a bit of a value trap? You know, offering these big dividends to kind of hide a fading business? Or are they truly transforming themselves for a future where cigarettes just aren't as important?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? And it's not an easy one to answer.
Right.
The articles we looked at, you know, they really highlight this uncertainty.
Yeah.
On one side, you see those declining Marlboro sales. which is a clear sign of the challenges they're up against.
But then on the other side, you see that growth in their oral nicotine pouch category, which is exceeding expectations.
Exactly. It's like they're this company in transition, you know, trying to build this new engine for growth while the old one starts to falter.
So for someone who's tuning in right now and trying to figure out if they should invest in Altria, what does this all mean for them?
It boils down to their personal risk tolerance and their investment goals. If someone is looking for that juicy dividend, and they believe that Altria can keep paying it out, then it might seem appealing. But if you're searching for a company with a more certain path to long-term growth, then it might be wiser to look elsewhere.
You know, our goal with this deep dive wasn't to say, you know, Altria is a good investment or a bad investment. It was more about giving our listeners the tools to make their own informed decisions.
We've given you the facts, the different perspectives, the potential positives and negatives. Now it's in the hands of each individual investor to weigh those factors and decide if Altria fits their own personal investment style.
And that's what I appreciate about these deep dives. We don't simplify things. We embrace the complexity.
Absolutely.
Because investing, it's not black and white.
Nope.
It's full of those gray areas.
Shades of gray. And to navigate them, you need knowledge. You need critical thinking skills and a willingness to do your own homework.
I completely agree. So to everyone listening out there, keep researching, keep exploring different viewpoints, and ultimately trust your own judgment.
That's right.
Investing is a personal journey.
It is.
And the best choices you make are those you make confidently and with conviction.
Well said.
Thanks for being with us on this deep dive into Altria Group. We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking. Until next time, keep those minds curious and keep those portfolios growing.